So one game I've been playing is actually a Kickstarter as well, and it finally arrived a couple weeks ago. This is Container, the 10th Anniversary Jumbo Edition. An this is a pretty polarizing game, but I'm not going to, well, I might talk about that stuff that is polarizing, but essentially what this game is it is an economic game where the players are controlling the economy 100%. It's designed by France Beno Delange, Thomas Ewert, and Kevin Nesbitt, and it's published by Mercury Games. So it's 10 years ago, so I guess the original came out in probably 2007 or 2008, because I think this was Kickstarted last year. Anyway, some backstory. This is a game that I heard about a lot when I first got into board games, but it was hard to find, but it just looked super, super interesting. And back when it first came out, you had small boats with actually, small physical containers you put onto the boats, but they brought out this 10th anniversary and they made it giant, which is something that I totally love. And so when I saw it coming on Kickstarter, I was very excited. And I honestly didn't know a lot about it. I knew that people really liked it. I knew that it was an economy game and that the players were kind of in control of everything about the economy. Essentially what you're doing in this game is you are buying and selling containers. This is one of those games where you're like, this game is amazing. The theme is you're buying and selling containers. So it's just not this very exciting theme, but it's the gameplay that just makes it such a great and rich experience. So you have containers that you are creating in a factory, and you're selling these containers at a specific price. I think it's 1 through 6, selling those containers for other players to purchase and put on their harbor stores. And you are only allowed to buy containers from other people's harbor stores. So it's this weird flow of creating containers that end up on other people's harbors, but then you want to ultimately get containers on an international island, which represents, I guess, selling your goods just around the world, but you don't have direct control over which containers you produce to get onto the island. You have to purchase containers for other people to buy, for them to send to the island. So what you end up doing is you're trying to sell the goods at a price that you think people will purchase them at, and then people will buy them for maybe, $1 to $6, which I guess represents millions of dollars. But then when you buy them, you're trying to sell them for a profit, and that profit could maybe only be $1 or $2. So it's not a lot of profit. And so you're trying to balance this economy, but here's the thing, it's not that difficult to get into. The first time we played it, I think it maybe took me half an hour to teach the rules, but after that, it's taken me 15-20 minutes to teach the rules. And I'm bringing this game out to groups that I didn't think would really enjoy it. It's just a very interesting, dry themed game, but with such amazing mechanisms that creates a lot of interest. So my game group, they loved it. We played 5 players with them, and they really loved it. Have some friends, my wife's sister and her boyfriend came over to play it, and I brought it out to them. I was like, look, let's play either a heavier game, or I think the other game I brought up was Dragon Castle or something like that, which we talked about last episode. And so I brought 2 of those games out, and they went for that game. I was like, great, let's just see how it goes. Let's see how it's received. And they loved it as well. It was just a great, great experience. Now, here's the thing with this game. As rich and as amazing as this gameplay is, and I hate saying things like this, it's probably one of the ugliest games I've ever seen in my life. It's just not... and that hurts me to say it because it's such a great game, and that doesn't really make me hesitate bringing it out. But the ships themselves are amazing, amazing quality. They could be used as a murder weapon. That's how good of quality they are. Mm-hmm. And then the small containers that go on the boats, also fantastic as well. But the graphic design and the player boards, the art of the harbors and the island itself, it's weird because this is not a cheap game, right? You're going to pay $100 for this game easily. And it's just one of those games where if you're paying that kind of money, there are kind of expectations that come along with that price. Right. And I know that there's a lot of frustration out there about a game like this. That's the market for this game, or the demographic might be leaning towards individuals who want more, or how should I put this? Who care more about the gameplay rather than the components themselves, and so they don't really need a jumbo version of this game, right? This game could have easily been made for $50, and I totally get that concern. But here's the thing. This game is so fun to play because of those giant ships and containers. Like, there is really this great experience of sailing around these ships, and you're moving them around the board to the island, to people's harbors. Like, everywhere that isn't a board is considered the ocean, and so you're moving the boats around there, and it's just great. I'm really happy that they chose to do the jumbo version of this game, and I'm sure I would have liked it if they did a normal size one, but there's just something about that. Like the ships are 7 inches long, and they are hefty, and it's just so
Hefty.
so good. Hefty ships. I don't know where that was going. But this is, I don't know. Do you have a chance to play this at all? Do you know anyone who has this game? Do you have this game?
Nope. No, I don't. All I know is that if I'm ever gonna make a game, I know that there just needs to be some sort of tactile, like, small person-esque miniature that you can just go
Exactly.
or just go toot toot, here comes the boat into the harbor.
Exactly.
No, I know how much I think it is for you, and I think for many others as well, to be able to have these cargo ships have this weight and tactileness to them that makes the decisions that you're having literally have this weight to them, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I had no idea this game existed until Shut Up and Sit Down did the review on it. And I watched the review in whole, and I liked it. And they pretty much, I think your reviews and theirs are pretty much the same in terms of, I think, what they think of the game. They really like the game. The graphic design they didn't care for, which again I would agree for. So I would say that you guys are very much in similar the same type of
that's
conclusion. Yeah.
I mean, the components themselves, like the cardboard is thick, like, and it's great. It's just visually, it's just hard to, like, I don't know. But it's one of those where the gameplay totally outweighs that criticism I have. I don't know. It would be really fun. If they did change it, would it change my experience? If they made it different art? I don't know.
Well, and that's really what I wanted to ask you next was, what kind of theme, or what could you, I mean, as a graphic designer yourself, how would you make this game more visually appealing to someone like yourself, a hobbyist gamer, which is about essentially, shipping goods to and fro an island and maintaining an economy? Like, is it kind of making it more wacky? Is it just making it sharper, making it more realistic? What is it that you feel could bring this game up from, let's say, a 7 or an 8 to a 9 or a 10?
So honestly, the theme I don't really have a concern about. It's how the theme is executed. The theme I think is great. Like, I don't mind the theme at all. It's just kind of how it's executed. So the board themselves, the art on it is blurry. It's not even sharp. Like, it's a little pixelated.
Okay, so quality issues.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then there's no connection between the style of the graphic design on top of the illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they created the illustrations. Like, are they using Photoshop? Are they using hand painted stuff and scanning them in? I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I can't identify the style or how it was created. I don't know. It's just this weird disconnect I have about understanding how it's created. And maybe I could be like, you know what? I get why they made this decision or why they made this look like this, so it's easier to communicate to the player about what's happening. But no, it just doesn't look good. Now, it's functional, 100% functional. It's easy to teach the game using the graphic design, but the art itself just does not connect to that graphic design.
Yeah.
If you think of, like, Fantasy Flight Games, and I always go to them for this kind of idea of pristine graphic design with illustration, where they just blend together. The graphic design supports the illustration and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
In this, we have poor graphic design competing with poor artwork. And I feel it kind of like, there's a reason I'm not a game reviewer, because I hate saying these things about games, but this is kind of a big deal with this one, because it is a very expensive game,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I don't know what I would do if Mercury decides to put out another game on Kickstarter. I just don't know. The only reason I did this one is because of its history, of its past. I don't know.
And so the open-ended market for this game, which is that, open-ended economy too, was that I'm just going to quickly reiterate again that wasn't anything that your game group found to be any complicated. That wasn't a good sentence, but you're saying that it went over fairly well, that people were able to understand that, hey, you're going to have to set your own prices, and that didn't lead to confusion with anybody, right? Everybody kind of seemed to understand like what was going on and what they needed to do in order to be able to get their goods purchased, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question, because that's actually a concern I had originally, because I'm not that bright of a person. I don't know anything about economics. I don't really follow financial stuff at all. So I was like, oh man, I hope this is still kind of in my constraints of being able to play. And here's what's great about it. And so there are 5 different colors of containers, and you produce specific colors and you put the price down, and there are squares on your board numbered 2 through 6 or 2 through 5. I think it's 2 through 6, and you put the colors on what you want to sell them for. So someone can purchase them and be like, okay, I bought these for 2. I'm now going to put them in my harbor store, which is also just a bunch of squares with number squares 2 through 6, and be like, okay, I bought this for $2. I'm going to put it on $3 or on $4 and make a profit. Let's say I do that with a purple container.
Right.
Someone else can take a purple container and be like, well, he's selling it for 3. I'm going to undercut him. I'm going to sell it for 2. And it's just kind of that idea of like, oh, that's how much you're selling it for? I'll go 1 less so people will come and buy it from me.
Right.
So it creates this weird like supply and demand. And endgame scoring is everyone has a section on the international island, and scoring comes down to if you have a variety of containers, and each color of container is worth a different amount to each player, which is super interesting. There's a card that tells you how much each container is worth, and that's secret, but it is different for every player. And you get more points if you have one of each color of container. And so there is a purpose to get multiple colors of containers.
Cool.
So yeah, it's really easy to pick up. It flows super well. Of course it takes kind of a round to understand the flow of things, because it is a bit unique how you get containers from your factories to the international island. But overall, it's not difficult, and it makes sense, and it's really easy to just pick up and play.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely would love to give this game a shot, but it definitely falls in that category of would love to play but do not care to own type of games. So, yeah.
I get that.
Cool. Thank you for sharing Container, the ship sailing cargo game.
Jumbo Edition
by Mercury Games.
Oh, that's a good preview of our musical episode next time.